Folks, if the process feels shady, it probably is. I'll explain what happened and then get into the latest home prices and insights for the Peel and Durham region for week ending September 25th, 2024. Here's what I want to talk about. I received what I would consider to be a very disturbing call this week. This person calls me, says they just bought a house. Incidentally, I do have permission to tell this story, although I'm not going to get into any names or anything like that. So this person bought a house just now, and he said that as they were looking at homes, their agent was helping them look at properties, find properties, give them, opinions on properties. And they came across a property that they really liked. Now, their personal budget to buy, they knew their budget was absolute max, just under $1 million. They couldn't go over $1 million because of the whole 20% down, although that's changed now, but that's not the point of the story. They couldn't go past $1 million. And that would be $1 million for everything. So if the home needed renos, like that was their maximum budget. Well, they found a property that they end up buying. Now, this whole home needed to be almost gutted, like it needed a ton of work. But they saw the potential. They felt comfortable. The realtor that they're dealing with said, "Oh, maximum $100,000 to do all the rentals here." The realtor even got the broker of record involved in some of the conversations with these buyers, and kind of concurred that, yeah, $100,000, we could do everything. And don't worry about the mortgage. We can get you the mortgage, and was just like really kind of pushing him into this is the house. And so they put in an offer, and next thing you know, they get a call back from their realtor saying, "Hey, listen, there's other offers now." I think there was 3 or 4 other offers, and he was telling them exactly what the other offers, the amount of the other offers, which, the seller does have the option to expose and say, let everybody know what the offer amounts are. But that wasn't the case. Somehow this realtor came across as having inside knowledge as to what all the prices were, what all the other offers were, and said, if you want to buy this house, you have to come in at $900,000. And then if you spend $100,000 in rentals, that takes you to the million, you're good. So the buyers agreed. Okay. And then the paperwork came in, electronic signatures to sign, and the offer was for $925,000. So they questioned this. They said, well, why is it $925,000? And their agent said, well, that's what it has to be. I know I said 9, but it has to be $925,000 if you're going to get this house. But don't worry, if you have any issues with the mortgage or anything like that, we'll get you the mortgage. And again, got their broker of record, the owner of the brokerage, to speak with the buyers and also convince them. $925,000 is the numbers. We know what the other offers are. This is what you got to do to buy this house. And that's what they did. So they signed away. They ended up getting the house. And now they're getting quotes on repairs, renovations. They knew that they were going to spend a lot of money to do this. And $100,000 is not even going to come close to the amount of work this house needs. And they've also found out along the way, the realtor that they were dealing with wasn't even a licensed realtor. The realtor they were dealing with was the brokerage owner's assistant. And the brokerage owner has several assistants that he does this with, that they just go out and show properties, and the brokerage owner is the one that has his name on everything. He's a realtor, he's the broker of record, but he has these assistants running around the city showing properties, talking about real estate, acting like they're realtors, but they're not. There's so many different directions I could take this discussion. When you unpack the things that I've spoken about here, I know many of you are thinking, well, why wouldn't the buyer like figure this out along the way? And if these people seem shady and some of the interactions would cause the buyer to go, whoa, what's going on? And I did speak to him about that. I said, like, you got to take some responsibility here. Like, you guys agreed at 9 and it comes in at 9:25 and you're okay with that. Why? Or there's going to be a lot of renovations. Like, why wouldn't you get maybe some quotes contractors ahead of time before you commit to yourself to such a massive renovation to get a better understanding of prices? Because the realtors, they're not contractors. They, maybe some of them are pretty good and they have an idea, but it's not really their job to tell you exactly what renovations are going to cost. And then they say, don't worry about mortgages no matter what. Like, did you not see the red flags? And that's what I know many of you are thinking. So for sure, the buyer here has some responsibility in not going, whoa, what's going on? But I can also understand from my perspective as a realtor myself, the kind of, through working with buyers, the kind of trust that buyers put in me, they are depending on me to guide them, to protect them, to tell them many times what's right, what's wrong, to help them through the process. I work with many new to the country buyers. And once they decide to work with me, that's what they expect, that's what they get, but they count on me. So how these buyers could just go along with things, I can see it. I'm going to give you a crazy example. If you're sitting in a doctor's office and somebody walks in wearing, the white cloak there and starts giving you advice, medical advice, how many people would say, hey, wait a minute, are you a doctor? You're just going to assume in that environment, anybody walking with a white coat is a doctor. You're just going to assume that. Well, kind of, you call a brokerage and say, hey, I want to see a property. And somebody says, great, what time you want to be there? And sets up the showing and takes you there and starts talking to you about real estate. You are going to assume they're a realtor. After all, you called to see a house. That's what's happening. Who else but a realtor is going to show you the house? So I could see how the buyers wouldn't even question whether the person showing them properties is a realtor. And then the broker of record gets on the phone. I could see how a buyer is just going to feel the extra pressure with the head of the brokerage giving them advice, and they just go along with it. I could see how vulnerable buyers can be in these situations. And there are many, many realtors out there that will not take advantage of this and properly protect and represent their clients. But we're not talking about the good realtors here, are we? We're talking about the other realtors. And here, in the scenario I just gave you, even if the buyer should have taken on more responsibility and go, whoa, what's going on here? This is pretty shady, and backed out, I still put more onus on the realtors because they have a responsibility to protect their client. They have a responsibility to act in the best interest. And not every realtor is prepared to do that. And these people are, these realtor or assistant and the broker of record are the worst examples in our industry. This is what gives a bad name to everybody. This is the worst example. And the person who called me saying, what do I do? Well, I know he's going to be calling Rico, and Rico will go after this. I'm expecting Rico to really go after this because Rico hates this kind of stuff. And I know he's going to go and seek legal advice as to what he could do about the situation. But now these are things he's got to deal with. So if I could, in parting, just say, folks, in any situation, although we're talking real estate here, but in any situation, if it feels shady, if there's things that don't make sense, if you're questioning in your head what's going on, don't just keep it in your head. Say it out loud. Speak to whoever you're dealing with. Get them to explain why things are happening the way they are. And if their explanation is just as shady as the act that happened, and you're not convinced, you don't have a gun to your head. You don't have to go through with the process. You don't have to work with that person. You can change your mind. I'll leave it at that. If you think this video can help somebody you know, please pass it along. If you get value from what we're talking about, subscribe. And if you want to speak with me about your real estate situation, selling, buying, it's really simple. There's a link to my calendar here. There's another one below this video in the description. In the description. Click on that, book a time that's convenient for you, and we'll talk about whatever's on your mind. Now, let's get into the numbers. Folks, this show's about detached properties, and all the data is for detached properties. But check out this townhouse we have for sale. It backs onto a forest. It's about 2,300 square feet. It's really nice. Check it out. The video's at the end of this video. Here we go. We're going to be focused in this show, Mississauga, Brampton, and the Durham region for data, sales data for detached properties only. And if we look at these three areas, now, they're three very different, distinct areas. I mean, there's an argument for, Mississauga and Brampton, they're connected, but Durham is the other side of the GTA. Well, if we kind of look at the average price pattern, they kind of follow the same price pattern. They don't always. Like if we go back, we could be way off, but since the fall market started, for each section, average prices went down, then average prices went up, then average prices went down to where we are now, week ending September 25th. We're going to start off with Mississauga. Now, it's the fall market. I've said this in the other shows. Seasonally, we see in the fall market, we do, in most situations, most years, we see an uptick in sales. We see an uptick in activity, an uptick in showings, an uptick in listings. That's what we see, and that's what we accept. We never know how long that's going to last for. Is that trend going to be, 3, 4, 5 weeks, or is it only going to last 2 weeks and then it's downhill till Christmas? That's what we don't know. But Mississauga is following the trend. Actually, since the beginning of August, sales have been trending upwards. For week ending September 25th, 43 detached properties were sold in Mississauga. 5 of those were at $2 million or more. Average sold price down over the previous few weeks. It's now at $1,403,000. And if we look across for the year, $1,403,000 is one of the lower average sold prices we've had throughout the whole year. 1,403 is just slightly higher than where we were average price-wise this time a year ago. And when we round up the percentage, it's really a 0% change, but it is just a few thousand higher. The median price is 3% lower year over year. And of the 43 that sold, 30% sold at list price or more. Listings. This pattern I'm showing you here now that I'll explain in a second is very typical. Listings shot up the first full week, which is week ending September 11, the first full week of the fall market. So listings shot up, and now each week they're coming down to where we were as high as 202 listed in 1 week. We're now at 125 listed. This is, again, just for detached properties. And active listings, we're seeing that trending up for the fall market also. Months of inventory, A little bit down from the previous couple of weeks. It's now sitting at 4 months of inventory, right in the middle of what we would consider a balanced market, which is between 3 months to 5 months of inventory. Brampton, 61 detached properties were sold. Now, if you look across the year, 61 is actually a really good week for Brampton when it comes to sales of detached properties. So 61 were sold. One of those properties was at $2 million or more. Average sold price down to $1,140,000. 1,140 is 8% lower year over year. The median price is a no percentage change year over year. 61 were sold, 28% sold at list price or more. Listings, I've been saying, they've been coming down in most areas, but 1 week to the next, listings were pretty much the same. But this week, they have come down a bit. And active listings, it has increased, not by very much. It's now sitting at 979 active detached properties available for sale. And months of inventory down over the previous week. And if we go back to kind of mid-August, kind of looks like months of inventory starting to trend down. And that has to do with the amount of sales going up. So we're sitting at 3.7 months of inventory, pretty much a balanced market. And here's Pickering, Ajax, and Whitby. That's my sample for Durham. For week ending September 25th, 42 detached properties were sold. Average sold price is $1,035,000, which is, let's forget about January. $1,035,000 is the lowest average sold price we've had the whole year. $1,035,000 is 11% lower year over year. The median price is 14% lower. The dotted line is a 4-week moving average, which shows average and median price slowly trending down. 42 were sold, 31% sold at list price or more. Listings down, but then pretty much the same. It's only up by 2 from the previous week. For week ending September 25th, 121 detached properties were listed. Active listings is climbing. Months of inventory still below the 3 months. It's sitting at 2.8 months of inventory. Here's a quick summary. In most areas, you're going to experience a balanced market. More so in the Durham region, there's going to be some competition. It's got the lowest months of inventory at 2.8. Price points are better than, or let me just say lower than a lot of parts of the GTA. So it's very attractive to go there to get a detached property under $1 million. They're there. There's many of them. And that's why a lot of people are excited about that. Balanced market in most areas. Thanks for watching. Have an awesome day. You're about to see 29 Oleana Way in Brampton. This is a large 4-bedroom townhouse over 2,300 square feet, and it still has room for a large office. It's a modern home, and the lot, big lot, backs onto a forest. Have a look.